Lieutenant Ryan Graves has spent a decade training Navy pilots and flying bombing missions. As a combat section lead, he twice deployed to the Middle East and holds a degree in aerospace engineering.
Go ahead, let's start from the beginning.
Well, simply put, I don't really know where the beginning is.
In the summer of 2014, Lieutenant Graves was based out of Naval Air Station Oceana in Virginia Beach. Lieutenant Graves says his squadron, the Red Rippers, was running training exercises up and down the East Coast when they started to pick up mysterious radar tracks.
We didn't really think a lot of them other than the fact that maybe they were just a part of the radar itself, not necessarily an actual physical object.
Is there any difference between the aircraft you were flying in 2015 versus what he was flying in 2004?
We had upgraded electronics, radar systems. It's a generational difference. It's a big deal.
Is it? Okay.
Huge increase in capability.
Okay.
The pilots wondered if their new radar system was malfunctioning until they saw one of the unidentified objects up close.
Walk me through that moment. Were you there or was it one of your colleagues?
It was one of my colleagues, so I didn't hear about it until they landed.
Did he give you size, color, texture?
It was basically a cube with inside of sphere where the points of the cube were touching outside of the sphere.
We've got now two different things. You guys got cubes with balls. Around the West Coast, we got flying Tic Tacs.
You will sometimes get phantom tracks where it's seeing something that's not there. That's what we thought they were 100% of the time until we would see them physically, gain tally of them with our eyeballs. It's not I'm seeing a bright physical object. I'm literally just seeing a flash shine out there. And wherever we were, they were there. So that could mean two things. That could mean they were already there, or they were following the strike group.
By 2015, Lieutenant Graves claims his pilots were encountering bizarre craft almost every time they flew.
You know, it's one thing if one person sees one of these objects, they're like, okay, that's crazy. When you go out there every day, and you see them, and your brothers and sisters and other squadrons are seeing them, and, you know, it's like, okay, well, this is probably some type of maybe drone thing or something that they're testing out. It wasn't until someone actually saw one go in between two aircraft at a close range, probably within 150 feet, that it was starting to get worrisome.
Lieutenant Graves says when one of the objects nearly caused a terrifying mid-air collision, senior pilots in his squadron decided to act.
At this point, we're like, something needs to be done. We submitted a safety report to the Navy Safety Center.
They've been seeing these things for 2 months. Multiple people have seen them, multiple people have tracked them. You get one that splits a section, enough to send out your mishap report to the safety center. Did anyone contact you and say, what is going on?
No.
No investigation, no nothing?
No.
We have a video. I'd like you to see it. Without telling you anything about it, I'm going to be curious your thoughts, and you can tell me what you see.
These 3 UFO videos were released by the Pentagon. The one on the left has already been identified as the 2004 incident involving David Fravor. The source of the other 2 had remained a mystery. This video has come to be known as Go Fast and shows an object speeding just above the water. The other is known as Gimbal.
The sensor is on a gimbal underneath the aircraft, and it can rotate to maintain a track.
They're all going against the wind. My gosh. There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh.
Never forget those voices.
You know those
I know
voices?
those guys, yeah.
It's a breakthrough in the investigation. For the first time, a pilot has confirmed that the 2 unidentified videos, Gimbal and Go Fast, were taken by Navy jets from the Theodore Roosevelt.
We're getting ready for a deployment. So we do workups along the eastern seaboard, and these objects kind of came with us.
Lieutenant Graves says both Gimbal and Go Fast were filmed within weeks of each other over the Atlantic off Jacksonville, Florida. And as Lieutenant Graves' squadron was preparing to deploy to the Middle East, they were seeing so many mysterious objects, they started sharing the videos when they got back on ship.
They're also very excited about what happened, and then they were heading down to watch the full video in its entirety.
If there's parts of this video that we can talk about that aren't here, let's walk through that.
So this object was significantly larger than the ones we're used to seeing.
Lieutenant Graves says the Gimbal video is just part of a longer, higher resolution video he was shown on the ship. It included several smaller craft, the kind he was more familiar with.
They were essentially flying themselves in a formation. And then behind those was the object that you kind of see here. And not the world's greatest drawer, but as you can see here, it almost looks like a gyroscope, right? The way it moves, the points coming out of the top and the bottom of what appears to be a disc, or at least a central mass on the object. So these objects were proceeding in one direction. The 5 at some point basically just turned themselves around with some type of radius of turn as a unit and started flying in that direction. At this time is pretty much where you see this video, where these are now out of the picture and it's just this guy that's stationary.
Is that why they refer to them as there's a whole fleet of them?
Yep.
Okay.
So there wasn't a whole fleet of these, there was just all these little guys. And then there was the one object which we had never seen before, which was significantly larger.
Lieutenant Graves says the way the larger craft suddenly rotates at 90 degrees is unlike anything he had ever seen.
It's rotating.
It's just basic airplane physics. When your wings are underneath you, and you're flying along, you have 100% of your lift. And if you turn yourself all the way like this, kind of knife blading, you have none of the lift that your wings would provide you. So the fact that he would just get himself on his wingtip with no turn by staying at the exact same point isn't how aircraft work.
Ryan Graves is an aerospace engineer when he's not a pilot. So when Ryan is telling you that there is something up there that he doesn't know how it works, and it is not one of our aircraft, you need to listen.
What's fascinating and interesting about these objects is that they're up there when we take off. They're doing their thing for our hour, hour and a half, maybe 2-hour flight. And then we land, and my buddy that takes off an hour later is seeing the same things.
This is important. Now we're looking at something that can stay stationary over a geographic point in 120 knots of wind.
We're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west.
Can rotate around and then can accelerate above supersonic.
As a Top Gun guy, have you seen something like that before?
No, I'm pretty baffled right now.